Welcome to the Swiss Homestead. I'm Pat Sheidler, a docent here. Behind me is the house built by the Christian Schumacher family in 1843. And just west of the house is a smaller building we're going to visit now.
Here is the summer kitchen. The Schumachers didn't build their summer kitchen until about 20 years after the main house, sometime in the 1860s. They would have felt the need to keep the heat from the hot northwest Ohio summers out of the main house. Most farmhouses had summer kitchens until about the early 1920s. It would have been used from about the beginning of May until after the first snowfall, after the food from the harvest was processed in here, as we'll talk about a bit later. Now, as with any kitchen in the mid-19th century, the heart of the building was the hearth. As you can see, there's very little brick inside this summer kitchen. This hearth and fireplace were built with an exterior chimney to keep the heat outside the building. Above our fireplace, we have a sign that was found on an outside wall of the barn, where it hung until about 1936. The German words on it can be translated to, "Everything depends on God's blessing." They would have wanted to keep a fire going all the time, and they would have banked it in the very back of the fireplace to keep it going. It was too hard to restart a fire once it went out. There were matches at the time, but they were somewhat unstable. And the only other ways to start a fire were with flint and steel, or by sending someone to a neighbor's house to get embers from their fire. So they would have kept it banked back here and brought out just the coals they needed, just the hot coals they needed to put under their implements. Here we have a crane which can be swung into the fire, over into the hearth over hot coals by this hook. And there is a trivet. This item is called a trivet, and it kept the pot or pan or skillet over hot coals that would have been brought out from the fire, banked in the back. And this little skillet has feet of its own and is called a spider. There would probably not have been baking done in here, at least not bread. Bread would have been mixed in here, the dough mixed. But there is an outside oven in the garden area. But there would have been butter churned in here. Here is a churn from that time period. If you come sometime and visit when we're open, you may have a chance to churn butter in a smaller churn right on this table. As I said earlier, they would have processed the food from the harvest in here. Mason jars were first used in 1857. The hot food would have been put inside the jar, a metal lid put on the top, and hot wax stripped over that to seal it. Sauerkraut would have been stored in a crock like this. This implement would have been used to shred the cabbage to make the sauerkraut, and this smaller one might have been used for coleslaw. Meat would have been ground in here and sausage made. Here are two different kinds of meat grinders. And an implement for pushing the ground meat into the sausage casing. Let's look at a few more items from that time period, the 1860s. You're probably familiar with the kind of iron that is put on a hot stove to heat. This iron would have hot embers put directly into its base. And here we have a candle mold. Wicks and hot wax would have been put in there to make candles that were more uniform in size and shape than the ones that were made by dripping. Here we have some herbs hanging to dry. The herbs would have been grown in their garden, and we have herbs growing in ours. They would have been used throughout the year to season foods and to make herbal medicines. Children would have been expected to do many jobs, including keeping the firebox in the corner full of wood and bringing water in to heat for cleaning, cooking, washing clothes, and bathing. We have a second room here, smaller room, that may have been used for washing the laundry and for bathing. Here's a laundry tub with a washboard and a bar of soap, homemade soap, made from lye, and a larger tub for bathing. Just outside this door was a well, a dug well about 18 or 20 feet deep with a pump. It would have been handy to have that well just outside the summer kitchen. We hope you'll visit us sometime. If you come to the homestead, please stop in the summer kitchen for a chat and maybe a freshly baked piece of bread with some fresh churned butter.